Hey YouTube, thank you so much for visiting us here, Cooking with G-Dubs, and I'm your host, G-Dubs. What I'm going to cook for you today is some pork shoulder that has been sliced up into what they call at the grocery store Western style pork ribs. And these are some big slices of pork. It's cut like this, and when I hook it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. It is absolutely delicious. And what I'm going to do is, the ingredients that I'm going to use is ketchup, the Coco Aminos, which is this substitute for soy sauce. And you can find this at your local grocery store. For those who have soy allergies, you can't handle that, this will be a great substitute. And don't forget, you got to try to get your natural, organic ketchup. So we got to keep our diet healthy. And we also have our Himalayan salt, and then we have our Èpís. And to learn how to do this, I have my video on my channel. It shows you step by step how to do this. And what I have in this Èpís is cilantro, Italian parsley, red onions, rosemary, thyme, basil, bell peppers, cloves, ginger, garlic, olive oil, and a balsamic vinegar and some water mixed all together at different increments. And then that's how I come up with this. But check it out and you'll see. And then also, what I like to remind you of, before you start cooking your meat, you have to always wash your meat. And the way I wash it is I use vinegar and hot water. So I pour the vinegar on it, and then I douse it with hot water, and I soak the meat with that, and then I kind of massage it and clean it and get all the extra bacteria, germs, and all that stuff off of it, and also the residual blood that may be on it. We get all that off, so that way it gives it kind of like a hazy look, what you see here, and that's when you know your meat is ready for seasoning. All right, so now it's time to season it up and then also make our marinade, and let me show you how to do that. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to start out by using my Èpís, and I have a half a cup of Èpís. I'm going to take a little bit more. It's a half a cup plus another half of a half a cup, so that's 75% of a cup. Take that. And then we take our ketchup and we squirt it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we take our Coco Aminos and we pour it in. We don't use that much. Then we take our salt. But what we're gonna do with our salt, we're gonna take our tablespoon of salt, and then we're gonna sprinkle it directly on our meat. All right, so then that way our meat will have the salt on it first. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix that first, but we gotta put our gloves on so we don't have the cooties on our hand. And then we take our whisk, and then we mix everything together. You can also use a fork, you don't have to use a whisk. So we're gonna have this mixed together really, really well. So that way we have everything nicely, evenly distributed. And when it's all done, this is what it looks like. See? It looks almost like gravy. All right? So now, what we're gonna do, we're going to mix it up. All right, what I just did is I just mixed up our salt, make sure it got it on all of our meat. Now we're gonna take our marinade and pour it right over it. Now we're going to mix it all together. And then we're going to make sure we have everything nicely well covered. Make sure all of our meat is all covered with the marinade. And then what you do, after it's all mixed together, then you let it sit for about 30 minutes to let the seasonings penetrate the surface of the meat, or make sure it penetrates the meat really well, and then it'll be nicely marinated. And then after that, we put it on the heat. I'm gonna cook it for you 2 different ways. One, I'm gonna put it in the oven. Part of it I'm gonna put in the oven. The other I'm gonna put on the grill. So that way, I have 2 different styles of 2 different flavors, all right? So YouTube, what I'm gonna do now is I have my tray that I'm going to use to cook it in the oven. And I have my oven already preheated at 400 degrees. And what I like doing to clean up a cinch at the end is I like to line my tray with some aluminum foil. So what I'm going to do is spray it with some nonstick spray. Then I'm going to take my pork. I'm going to lay it out. These are nice big pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it in the oven. And then what I'm going to do is before I put it in, I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil. So that way it'll steam as it's cooking. Look at those pieces. They're huge. All right. I'm going to put one more. And then the rest of them, I'm going to grill it. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you at the end result of the 2 different ways in which I've cooked them. All right, now I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil and put it in the oven. Now that my pork is cooking in the oven, it'll be in there for about an hour. Now we're going to put our other part of the pork on the grill. And now I got my grill nice and hot, and it's right around 600 degrees, and it's piping hot. You see the smoke coming out of it? So now I'm going to hit it with a little non-stick cooking spray, and then I'm going to put my pork right on the heat. Look at that. And the way I like cooking my pork is I like to put it, it's real hot. And what I like doing is I like to let it sear on one side, let it sit for about 2 minutes, and then afterwards, then I'm going to come back, flip it over for another 2 minutes, and do that about 3 or 4 times until it gets nice and golden brown, and then it'll be well done. All right, here we go. Look at that. I lowered the heat. I went down to low heat, so then that way it doesn't burn. And because the meat is so thick, you want to kind of cook it slower, not really fast at a high heat. So I start out with high, and then I went down and I made it lower. All right? And now look at that. Don't that look good? Look at that. Look at that. Don't that look delicious? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep flipping it. Every about 3 or 4 minutes, we flip it over a couple of times until it's done. All right, YouTube. Now our meat is ready. Oh man, look at that. I'm gonna show you what it looks like right off the grill. Look at that. Don't that look scrumptious? Don't you want to dive through that video camera and eat this? Whew, man. My family can't wait. They're all drooling and carrying on. Oh man. My youngest son is breathing out of his mouth. Oh my goodness. He can't wait to dive into that. Look at that. Let me show you one more time. Look at that. Look at, you see it's dripping? Look at that. That's how juicy it is. Woo. That's what I'm talking about. Cooking with G-Dubs, I laugh and joke, but I don't play when it comes to cooking. All right? Now let's take this inside, let it sit for about 10 minutes so the juices will redistribute, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, YouTube. Now look, I did the pork 2 different ways. One, I did it grilled. The other one, I put it in the oven. And you see the difference? They turned out really well, and they're both are delicious. Now it's time for our taste test. Look at that. This was the one that I did in the oven. Nice and juicy. Oh man, delicious. Oh my goodness. Let me taste the one I did in the grill. Wow, look at that. Oh, it's on me. I'm waiting. It's nice and juicy. Look at that. Oh, you will love it. I can't wait for you to try YouTube. Thank you so much for visiting us here with Cooking with G-Dubs, and I'm your host, G-Dubs. Don't forget to like and subscribe below. Tell a friend to check us out. Thank you so much for visiting. Until the next video. Peace.
Baby, baby, baby.